Anna is helping G2 scale in EMEA and responsible for developing net new accounts as an AE. G2 is a review platform that helps B2B software buyers make educated purchases. It's absolutely the destination for everybody in this room to understand where your technology is helping buyers in the market. But what I also love about G2, and Misha's going to talk a little bit later about developing your sales career, G2 is a fantastic way to understand which companies are scaling and developing. So it's a great platform to check out. She's going to be sharing her experience on selling internationally, and we'll talk about what is required in terms of the right mindset as a successful individual contributor. Round of applause for Anna. 7 minutes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. How many of you have sold into EMEA so far or are selling into EMEA at this moment or are planning to at some point? Great. So I grew up in an international school. I lived in 4 countries. I speak 5 languages, intern to 7, and I have sold into 47 countries. So when I started selling internationally, it was a great challenge. It was really, really hard. Now, looking at the SaaS companies that come they scale into EMEA, they usually start in London, right? So we've seen Okta as an example, G2, great example, SalesLoft as well. It is important to see why is important to develop your international selling skills is because these companies will grow and you can grow with them. So there are opportunities for promotion, there are opportunities to train perhaps an office somewhere else. So this is the reason. What I will speak about today is mainly that Europeans are complicated, and to succeed in selling internationally, you need to understand, to respect the culture. You need to learn how to build trust, and finally, to understand that cultural differences will impact the way you forecast your revenue. So being sensitive to that is important. To start with, respecting the culture. I mean, this is the absolute minimum, right? When you sell internationally, understanding how each country has, for example, their working schedules, their holiday schedules, their bank holidays is quite relevant. Take into example France, right? So France from 12:30 to 2 p.m. it's usually lunchtime. So setting a call at 1 p.m. probably is not showing that sensitivity towards the culture. Israelis, for instance, they have working weeks from Sunday to Thursday, and also being mindful that you won't get a contract signed on Friday is something to note. Looking at the aspect of building that respect, right? So building a respect is key because that is what is actually the foundation of building a relationship with your prospect. Looking at every culture has a different way in which is important to build trust. For example, in Nordics, in the region of Nordics, looking at the clear-cut ROI and building that analysis in which you will propose a solution is actually key. Looking into the Mediterranean region, having those face-to-face meetings is extremely important. Now, I'm originally from Greece, and I started selling from the UK to Greece, one of the countries I was selling to in my first sales job. And I did not recognize the importance of having a face-to-face meeting as a professional. So the first few deals were a little bit challenging. The point I want to make is that speaking different languages and having lived there could help. However, it's not what will make you successful. It's developing that curiosity beyond just closing that deal, understanding how that culture works, and asking a couple of qualifying questions, like when you're networking, to better understand that culture is quite important. Finally, I'd like to look at the impact that all these cultural differences may have on how you impact, how you forecast revenue. So October was our quarter end, and I had an Israeli deal on the table, and it was middle stage, so there wasn't any we weren't at contract stage yet. And guess what? October is Yom Kippur, so it's a holiday that most people take about 3 weeks holiday around that. So guess what? Good luck to me, right? It is important to take notice of that, and understanding how different cultures have different sales cycles. For instance, certain cultures, the building the relationship is probably 70% of your sales cycle. Some other cultures really like to negotiate and to haggle. So if you haven't accounted that, your deal will probably slip into the quarter, into the month, into the year. So this is important to take account of. Another thing, basically, what I wanted also to say in terms of the reason that this is important. So as individual contributors, we perhaps don't recognize the importance of forecasting. So SaaS companies are scaling into EMEA, mainly because they've received some funding, usually, right? So leaders usually do crunch data on a weekly, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, and we have a responsibility as individual contributors to accurately reflect the revenue that we are aiming to project for that month and for that quarter. So understanding that and being sensitive to these cultural differences is key. To summarize a little bit, being able to respect, right? To respect each culture, to develop the curiosity into understanding how to build trust will in turn will be an understanding of also how to impact the revenue, and we'll have that as well. The question is, how do you do that, right? How do you develop that curiosity? One way is to network and to speak to people that sell currently internationally. So this will be your winning card. These are people that have experience and they have done that already, and they can help you. You can speak to me at the end of this event, so I can also give you some tips on that too. Finally, when you meet people in trade shows or events, being able to ask more questions, and this is your face-to-face time. It's your opportunity to actually learn about the culture and learn about them, and try to develop this sensitivity that at scale will help you for that country, for that region. So finally, Europeans are very complex. There's a lot of history in each country. Their languages have so much weight, and it's actually this challenge and this need to become adaptable and flexible that makes selling into EMEA an absolute thrill. Thank you.